Damn.
All right.
I'm not that happy right now, man.
Okay, that's good because I started recording already. Okay, we're here with Darren. He went 3rd place at Ultimate Cup in Oceania with what deck, Darren?
It's the freaking 12 Devas, 4 Sovereigns, whatever you want to call it.
Yep, with
Fanglongmon.
Fanglongmon.
Yep.
Coming first in an Apocalymon dominated tournament, only just losing to Apocalymon in the finals.
Finals, man.
Which
and then bumped
is
down to 3rd.
then bumped down to 3rd. That's
You know how it
depressing.
is.
Yeah, know how it is. All right, let's see this deck profile and yeah, let's get into it.
Alright, let's just, yeah, exactly. You know what, we're gonna splay it all out here, so I hate the thing when people do like deck profiles, they just put everything in the middle and then take it all away, and then it's like, where do I actually look at the whole deck? We're gonna splay it all out, you can skip to the end if you want. I don't give a shit about engagement.
All right, let's go. Let's see
Alright.
it.
Eggs, Mother Deer Reaper. We're not playing 3s, we're not playing 4s, so this one, it's just white, that's why we play it. Sometimes it can come up because we're also playing, bam, we're playing 4 of the EX4 Apocalymon, has Alliance, so if this ever does come out, you can Alliance with it for 23k, 2 checks, broken. Otherwise, you're alliancing with your other 5s or your 12s, well, no, your 6s, so you're doing like 15k, 20k, 2 checks, usually, also broken. End of attack rarely comes up. I actually forgot it once during the Ulti Cup, it was meant to trigger, but I forgot to do it. But if you have 3 or fewer security cards, recovery +1, it's just everything about this card is too good, you can't play it any less than 4. And then the next 4 of, I actually do play 4 of them in this deck, I know that's sort of controversial. It's like, you know, the effect of these new EX5 cards, it's all about playing David traits with a different name from your battle area or trash. Doesn't matter, just play 4 of them, man. When there are good cards, you want to play 4 of them. You want to see Couturamon, it's the only one that's actually a blocker while it's a 5. Blocker inheritable as well. The black cards are just broken. I think the thing that really helped me when I was first like trying to figure out this deck was just figuring out how I want to play the deck. I did try, you know, playing a bunch of like 2-ofs, 1-ofs, whatever. But eventually I switched to just like going, like, you know, the blocker inheritable is just too good. I want to play more of those. So I just started playing 4 of them, and it's good. So I also play 4 of the Synduramon. Also has the blocker inheritable. It's also a decoy. That actually comes up more often than you think. Just a really good card. And then to round out the blacks, we've also got 2 Makuramon. Look, I know I was saying like I want to run up 4 of all them like blocker inheritables, but that one's just kind of mid. Like the opponent's turn, all of your opponent's Tamers with play cost 2 or less can't suspend. What are you meant to do about like? Doesn't really do anything. It's just a blocker inheritable. 10's enough. You're gonna find them more often than not. You still want to look at your other cards, other inheritables. So that's what I found works for me. This did come up once during Nationals against Security Control. They couldn't suspend their Mimi during their turn to get the memory back from the option. So,
Oh, and tell me, what did you come in Nationals with Divas?
yeah, 18th. That's why we're recording on this right now.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
very similar deck. I'll tell you what the differences are when we get there. But yeah, these are my 4s, my 5s. Like again, I know this effect says like you won't have to have different names from your battle area or trash, but like you're just gonna find different ones often enough. Like this is only 4 of my Davis. There are 8 left, man. Like you're gonna find a different name in your hand, and even if you end up with a hand of like, you know, you have like 2 of these, 1 of these, and like 1 of these, you feel like it's kind of clogged up. It doesn't matter. You play Coutura, put Antila in the back. Next turn you play Coutura, you put Syndura in the back. It's fine. Like you don't need to play this one into your breeding area. You just play it outright. If you have doubles, that's what you do. It's easy. It's fine. So then we move on to some more of my 5s. The next best 5s in EX5 were the red ones, just Sec +1 inheritable, really good, obviously. This is basically an aggro deck, so having the Sec +1 is kind of crucial. Really good if you can get them under your Digimon. Sometimes they just, like, you can sneak a win out of nowhere, they don't think you have lethal, but then you use the option card, Loyalty, to get this under one of your 6s, and then suddenly you're swinging for lethal. Really broken. Indramon's one of the best ones, on deletion, draw 1. Can't argue with that. Next one I've got, Sandiramon. 2 of those, on deletion, pop a 5k or less. Doesn't come up too often, but it's fine. Comes up more often than the last one, just play 1 per Giramon. On deletion if your opponent has a Tamer game on memory. It's fine, but like also, like they don't... Your ults, like one of your main game plans, you don't actually want them to be deleted that often. So it's like, these on deletion effects, none of them super matter, but if you're gonna get them deleted, just draw 1 card out of it. That's what you want the most. From here on, it's all 1-offs, so the 1-off per Giramon, we've got the 1-off Vajramon, It's fine. There's no better Vajramon. The other one's like a purple one from BT5 or whatever.
And it's not Deva, is it?
No, they're still Divas.
Oh, they're still Divas?
Yeah, that was always a trait, but
Okay.
like, yeah, this one, you know, you got the on play, which is nice, and then when you use an option card with a cost of 1 or more, gain 1 memory, it's fine. Next one, Apocalymon. Apocalymon actually kind of cool. So when one of your other Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon, and survives, this Digimon unsuspends. It's kind of cool, but again, doesn't come up that often, and I don't really care about piercing that much either.
I have a question.
Yes.
Your turn effects,
Yeah.
do they come up often as you want them to? Or are they just there just to have, like, do they really matter in the deck? Because you're always going into your sovereign aces?
So you don't always go into them. Again, like something like this, the draw 1 on deletion, that like it just makes it like a really free swing into security as a 5. So like one of my favorite ways to just win with the deck is, you know, first turn you play a 5, put a 5 in the back. So then your next turn you come up, you're swinging twice. Then you play another 5, and then like they both like if they both survive, play another 5, put another 5 in the back. And then on your next turn, so this is like your third turn, second turn of being able to swing, you just bring up, you have 4 bodies, swing for the rest of the security with 3 of them, and then swing for again with the 4th one. So like, something like this, which is just like on deletion draw 1, it's like, you don't feel bad if it dies, and if it lives, then you get that kind of game plan. So that's kind of what I like about them. The next most useful your turn is probably like the game on memory ones, so I also play the Kumbiramon and Majiramon. The Majiramon has the same like your turn effect, which is gain a memory if you use an option card. Those ones are pretty good. Like you are kind of really just doing like 1 or 2 actions per turn with this deck because most of your things are just like a 7 drop. So things that kind of like help manage your memory a little bit, like these cards, they're not too bad. But the only reason I dropped like, you know, I only play 1 of them is because like, it doesn't come up often enough that you'd want more of them, and the inheritables are just kind of like mid. Like, compared to blocker or sec +1, it's like piercing and when attacking game on memory, they're just not that impactful. And my final Deva, the final one of, is kind of a spicy tech. It's BT13 Mahiramon. The on-play can sort of save you out of security, which is a weird thing to say, but I play cards that... I play the Baihu. Like, we'll see the Baihu. I play a lot of him. People don't play the Baihu, but, like, that's a good target to come out of Baihu, like, because it has the on-play. And then the Inheritable is just really good. So, Inheritable, if you loyalty this under one of your other Devas, you can evo into a Sovereign for 2 memory, and then you can evo that into Fanglongmon for 3 memory. Like, that's just value. And so, you'll notice that out of all the EX5 cards, the only ones I'm not playing are the EX5 Antila and the EX5 Mahira, because the blue Inheritable is just kind of like the worst of them all. Like, if this Digimon has full Sovereigns or Grudge Trait, like game on memory when attacking, it's fine. It's never really what you need. This Antila is obviously just better, and then the other Mahira is like on play, like trash the top or bottom card of your opponent's security or something. Like, no, not security, that'd be broken. Like a Digivolution card or something. Which, like, your deck just doesn't really care about Inheritables. And that is it for my 12 Devas. I play all 12 of them, a couple of one-offs, and then just 4 of all the actually good ones. So then we move on to the Sovereigns. Again, we have some 4-ofs here. I play, I think, apparently a higher Sovereign count than a lot of people. But they're ace cards, they're just good. First of all, you gotta play 4 of the Azulong. The Azulong is just the best card in the deck. It's the one ace that people really have to play around. It means they can basically never swing with a 5. And decks love swinging with 5s or lowers. Like against Red Hybrid, against Garurumon, you get that out of them, they lose so much aggression, they have to start playing around you, and you just gain all the tempo. Just by simply playing, having Azulong access in the deck. By simply having this in the deck, they're scared. And you need to, you know, people, they can't play scared forever, they'll actually eventually swing, which is why you actually do need to play 4 of them. You can't just rely on people being scared of it. It's just best card in the deck. Also lets you, you know, if you did lose bodies during like the 5 rush plan, like it unsuspends something, get an extra swing in, can help steal the game. So I play 4 of that one, and then my next most played Sovereign is Baihu, the sleeper card, the one no one plays. Baihu's kind of broken. So this actually did come up during the Ulti Cup. People didn't realize, like that, my opponent who actually had, their own like Davis deck, they thought that this opponent's turn 1's per turn effect. So it says when your security is checked, If that card is a Digimon card with a Deva trait, you can play it without battling and without paying the cost. They actually thought that after like your first security was checked, that effect mandatorily activates, and it's just like whatever it is, like you might just whiff it and it's just gone forever. That's not the case. It only activates if that card is a Deva trait. So basically, they can keep hitting your security. Once they hit a Deva, it'll get played. Like it doesn't whiff on the first security or whatever. This just gets you an extra body out. It's broken in combination with some other cards in my deck. You know, it makes like Mahira good. Any of these become an extra draw one out of security. It's an extra body to swing with. So if you're ever kind of lacking in aggression, if bodies did die, just blast into, or like if it's something that you don't actually want to like, you can't bounce it with a Zulong, or like you don't really want to block it because it'll, you know, it's just like they have protection or whatever. So your on deletion doesn't remove them. Just go into Baihu, let them swing at your security, check a Deva. And then, like, now you've got, like, a really good response on the clapback. Makes it awesome. And then the other two Sovereigns, I just play as 2-ofs. They just do what they say on the card. I put these as 2-ofs just because I didn't think, like, their effects aren't that great. They don't always say, like, they don't... The opponent doesn't have to play around them as hard, like Zuchao just popped a 6k, which, like, it's nice, gives them a little less to work with, but compared to just, like, bouncing any 5 or less, like level 5 or less, that's obviously just worse. Ibonwu, actually, like, a decent card for, like, saving game states, especially against something like Anubis, if they're kind of rolling and they have, like, a lot of swings on board, just going into an Ibonwu with a big enough board. I mean, obvious, like, you have to kind of set things up to get there, to have a point where you have a big enough board to a Bonwu, like, for good value against Anubis, but it does happen, it does come up. I do like a Bonwu. Its ability to save you is decent, but I think the undulation is just kind of shit. Delete one of your opponent's suspended Digimon. Out of all of these, it's just kind of the worst one against stuff that unsuspends when attacking, against stuff that reboots. It's just not that good compared to just pop their highest level, pop their high place cost, pop their highest DP, play cost level. Like, that's the other thing. Like, that's also kind of why I love the blockers so much. Like, I don't see these as, like, compared to, like, kind of just ruining my opponent's day, I don't really see these as that important to keep on board. If you can just kind of, like, if they want to swing with, like, a level 6 or something, they finally get there, because obviously they're not swinging with 5s, you just burst into any one of these, Zulong, Baihu, Zuchao, probably not a Bonwu, block with it, with one of your blocker inheritables, and then just pop their guy in in return, like, and then they're just screwed, right? They invested everything into that one stack. So many decks are doing that right now. Or like against something like Levia, they don't even have a stack, but they're invested everything into their combo, and then you just kind of put it back in the trash. Don't want to see it.
Nice.
And then finally for the Digimon, obviously you play the 4 Fanglong. Just a good card, you know? You can play him for cheap, he comes down, minus 16k to everything. I love saying that. And just a good way to close the game. You have to be careful with him, because if they have something in raising, and like, sometimes it's just the only thing you can do, they have something in raising, but you need to clear their board. You play down Fanglong. It obviously doesn't do much on their turn, the first time you play it, because no inheritables, it's not a 5, you can't blast Evo, so sometimes you can still die, it doesn't just save your ass every time, but a well-timed Fanglong can really swing the game.
What's the cheapest you've played Fanglong down for?
In the tournament or just in general?
In general. Maybe in the tournament, yeah, let's say that.
In the tournament, I think I got one down for like 4.
Nice.
Yeah, obviously we'll just talk about this card now. I'm playing 3 of Holy Beast Great Cardinal Positions. I want to play 4, there's just no room in the deck for it. And sometimes, it is clunky in the hand. You can only play it when you have a Fanglong in your hand as well. So 3 I found is just enough. You'll see it often enough, especially since you can search for it. And you're drawing a decent amount of cards. And so this card obviously broken. While you have Deva 4 Sovereigns, or D-Reaper or your Tamers, you can just play it. And then it gets reduced cost for every single unique card with a Deva 4 Sovereigns trait in your trash. That makes this guy come out for cheap, like I said. I think I got it for 4. I'm pretty sure in like other practice games at locals, whatever, I've gotten it out for like 1 or 0. Like, it's just a great card. Yeah, and then you get the Fanglong out, close out the game, or like just kind of ruin your opponent's game board until they can't really do anything about the rest of your things. And then the other option I play is obviously just Loyalty Deeper Than the Sea 4 of those. Amazing card. 1 cost searches, can stack the deck on the top or bottom. Like, what more could you want from a card? And then the fact that it's 1 cost means like it's just easy fodder for Fanglong. I don't know if people think about that often, but like it's just a card you can always play, and then it goes into the trash, and that's just an extra 4k to minus off of Fanglong. That's broken. I think, yeah, really good card. Sort of like whenever it's in my hand, I think it's usually like just the first thing I do on my turn. Just play Loyalty before I swing. You know, I don't want to lose my ability to actually play it. And before I play anything else, like my other Tamers, like my Tamers or anything like that, just have a look at what's going on top of the deck. You're able to stack it, you're able to like get your options. It's just like, yeah, and it's just 1 cost. You can always play it first thing you do on the turn. And if you have these, get the memory back. Really good. And finally, onto my Tamers, we have the standard. Well, I've got 2 analog youth. Maybe that's not the standard. I think a lot of people might still be playing 4. I think Australia is kind of onto it, the other Tamer that we play. But analog youth, obviously just good for the deck. Put stuff in trash for your Holy Beast, Great Cardinal positions. Put stuff in trash for Fanglong, and gets you any Digimon you need, including Fanglong. So just a generally solid card. And also, when I say, like, you know, you block with one of your aces to kill something and ruin their day, suspend it, gain a memory, and that's basically the only time I ever hatch the Reaper. I basically never, like, hatch it during the breeding phase. Almost every single time, almost every single turn, I would rather just leave my breeding area open for if I'm going to play a 5 or if I Baihu. So even if I don't play a 5 that turn, if I have a Baihu in hand, I'm going to leave that open, because Baihu, they check the Deva, it comes out, I play it, draw the card, put something in back. And then, maybe that will come. So that's the final Tamer, final card in my deck. 2 Genais, actually such a good card for the deck, ridiculously good. This one was the one I didn't play at Nationals, so I was on 4 analog youth, no Genai. After the event, I sort of like was looking over my bad matchups, and I got kind of clued in by some other people that I didn't actually read this properly. The on-play is optional. It's kind of weird. Like, you don't think about it, but they really just printed a card where you can just play it and it will do nothing. You can just make it choose to do nothing, but it's actually so good in this instance because obviously you don't play any level 3s, you don't play any non-white Tamers. That was the only reason. I did bring Genai for testing during the Nationals. I had it in my deck box, but I didn't put it in the deck because I thought it was still in a bottom deck 5 cards when I played it, but apparently you can just choose not to do that. And then what it does when you don't do that and you just have it on the board is when your opponent swings with level 5 or higher, you can just suspend him, bring something out of raising. That's insane. So what that means for this deck is your weakest matchups are the ones that can just get rid of your 5s before you blast Evo. Stuff like Shine, stuff like Mirage, anything that can just kind of like completely pop your 5 and then you're left with no options to blast Evo, nothing to like block their attack, nothing to stop or do anything. Like if your 5 gets popped, you're not doing anything. So Genai just being able to like make it so that you can have a 5 safely in the back until they swing, resolve all of their when attacking effects. You just suspend Genai, bring up one of these fellas, a blocker inheritable, blast Evo into an Azulong, and then block it. Like, imagine that against Shine. Imagine that against Shine, they've popped your 5 or whatever, but then like they try swinging with Marcus or they try swinging with Shine Greymon. You bring up a blocker, you bring up a Zulong, you block it, and then they don't have a stack, and they're just kind of like, they don't know what to do. Like, that's how you get the tempo back. Against something like Mirage, they're trying to bounce back all your stuff, and then, you know, you just come out of nowhere from the breeding area with a 5, you evo into like a Baihu, suddenly you have a board with 2 Digimon when they were meant to get you down to 0. That's insane. The other thing with Baihu, obviously when you use Genai to braze a level 5 from your breeding area, your breeding area is now empty again. So if you go into Baihu and they hit a Deva, and it's any one of these, like any one of the ones with the regular on play, they come out, they get played, you draw 1, put another guy in the back. That's just value, man. I don't know what to say. That's just value. So yeah, that's the list. This is what I've come across like after some testing. I did, like, when I first started the deck, like I said, I tried like standard stuff, like, you know, playing a lot less of a single Deva. But then, like, I just really got confused as to like how I was supposed to play the deck. when you just kind of play 2 of everything, it kind of feels like nothing's really like meshing together. You have all these inheritables that you don't really care about, or like you don't have blockers when you most need them. So I readjusted everything based on the cards that I thought I actually really liked having, and it still works. Like, it doesn't matter that you're playing 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. You can still get stuff into the back of the breeding area pretty much every turn. I think during the entire tournament there were probably only like, I want to say like less than 5 moments where I played a Deva and couldn't put anything in the back, you know? So, and then also as for like, I know people were playing like, you know, memory setters like heroes, or like they try to put in like actual removal options. I can see why you want to do that, but in this meta, honestly, like, it's just, there was no real reason to do it. Fanglong will get rid of most of everything you need. Like, the only thing that Fanglong can't remove is basically other Fanglongs, and you're not going to see another Fanglong, man.
Because nobody playing this deck.
Nobody's
That's
playing
why.
this
There's
deck.
nobody's playing this deck.
Exactly.
That's why.
Like, the only thing Fanglong can't remove is going to be like another Fanglong, and like,
yeah.
you're just not going to see that.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, you have all of these effects as well. Like, the only Digimon that aren't affected by other Digimon are like, yeah, it's like Fanglong, it's like Apocali with Crania under, but they can only do that so many times. Like, you don't need removal options. It's fine. Your best bomb is just more bodies from Baihu. That's why I love Baihu.
Yep. Okay. So going into last week's Ultimate Cup, it was pre-banless, so it was the only tournament that we had Apocalymon legal, and we had Garurumon cards legal, the Garurumon X line legal as well. What made you take this deck? What made you take this deck to Ultimate Cup, and like knowing that Apocalymon was still legal?
Okay, so I know it sounds like cope because it was the only match that I ended up losing. It was in the finals against Apocalymon. But this deck can beat Apocalymon. I've tested this with the guy holding the camera.
Thank you.
And like, basically the matchup, like, it is a bit risky, obviously. I know it's still in playing 3 of these, but the matchup does boil down to just finding Fanglong. They're going to mill all of the names into trash for you to play a Fanglong for cheap, and then Fanglong, every turn you minus 16k. They don't have any DP boosts, they don't have any removal options. You just, like, once you establish a Fanglong, you're also halving the effectiveness of their mill. You're returning 4 to the bottom of your deck every turn. So, like, that's just it. That the matchup is solvable. It's definitely winnable, and it is just it just relies on drawing these cards. And I couldn't find Fanglong in both of the games. In game 1, 2 Fanglongs ended up in security. Game 2, I think 1 Fanglong was in security. I played 2 analog youths, dug that many cards, couldn't find it. So it is what it is. And then my opponent was also just like, he had Apocali like turn 2 every time. You know, he just had it like that. So if they have it like that, then they have it like that. Once they start milling your Fanglongs, then you're like, okay, cool, I'm kind of screwed. But the matchup's not unwinnable, definitely. And when they're swinging with like their rookies, their Garurumons or whatever, like, obviously you've got all your aces to help against that. So that definitely, like, Apocali was a winnable matchup. I kind of wanted to, like, you know, kind of clown on one. I got clowned on instead, but it is what it is. It was a very luck-based matchup, I knew that. Like, it was just kind of whoever found their level 7 first, and it wasn't me, unfortunately. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty, like, decent, like, it was a pretty decent matchup. The other thing I thought was, I don't know, just, like, so, like, I've practiced this deck against Anubis a ton. I faced one in Nationals. I did end up facing one in LT Cup as well. That's not a bad matchup either, especially with something like Genai. Anubis can pop all the 5s he wants if you have a 5 in the back. Yeah, but like, yeah, and against Anubis, something like Anubis, because obviously that was also pre-banless, very popular deck, very powerful deck. You know, they can start. You just need to sort of, like, I practice that matchup a ton. The way you play it is basically, instead of leaving a 5 up and like trying to go for like the 4-5 game plan, you just evolve your 5 immediately. So like after you play your first, like, you know, pair of 5s, like, they're not going to get to Anubis on turn 1. That's just impossible. Like, literally impossible. So just, like, they're not going to do that. You have 2 5s. And then just start evolving them into your sovereigns. Like, you're not getting the Blast Evo value, but they can't really pop a 6, which is really funny. They can only pop 5s or below. They can't really pop a 6. And then if they do sort of try to pop a 6, like, I don't know, like Raid Retaliation Saber Dramon, then I'm also getting rid of a Merva or an Anubis. And then that sets them back. And then it's just sort of playing that game until you get Fanglong out. And then once you get Fanglong out, they literally have no out. Their board gets cleared every turn. The only way you lose to Anubis is if they know the matchup, they play it like super aggressive and in a way that sort of plays around your aces. But it's sort of hard to do all three of those things at once. So it's a pretty decent matchup. And then Garuru, full power Garuru, I'm not afraid of it at all. They lose to a Zulong, man. What are they supposed to do against a Zulong? They rely entirely on swinging with Garurumon, unsuspending, doing like a bunch of checks through that. If you have a Zulong, they can't do that. Like, the only thing you need to watch out for against Garurumon, or like Garurumon in general, is if they just kind of try to turbo into Melga X, and then obviously when that unsuspends, they have to bounce back everything with the lowest level. But in order for them to do that, they need to suspend first, which means they're attacking, which means you can go into any one of these and block it. So, not afraid of that matchup at all.
Okay. So, in terms of going past this post-ban list meta, going into regionals, how do you think this matches? How do you think this stacks up? Because I've seen in a lot of tier lists that people discount this deck a lot, and there isn't much representation. Is it just because people don't know how to play the deck properly, or what is it? And where do you see see this deck in the meta under a person that knows how to play it? I
don't know what it is about America. They don't respect this deck at all. I think we do see a decent amount of it in Australia, right? So Australia, I wasn't the best performing Deva in Australia, as I came 18th, but there was one in top 16. And then even in the last Ulti Cup, I think there was another Davis in top 32.
Yeah. But you were the top. You were the best.
I was the best Davis this time around, yeah, yes. For sure. But
even in an Apocalymon meta.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think some people might see my matchups if I talk about them and be like, oh, I got lucky, didn't actually verse Apocali that often, that early or whatever. But I don't know. I think this deck is like genuinely really strong in the matchups that are common right now in the meta. So like I was saying, like its main matchups that it's losing right now, from my testing, is going to be stuff like that is partially solved by Genai, but you need to find the tool for it to work. Is stuff like Mirage, stuff like Shine, stuff like Rose. Literally all these BT15 decks that people stop playing, thank God, they all kind of clown on this deck. So Shine, obviously, stupidly good at removing your level 5s, and then they're free to go do whatever they want after that. Mirage, again, stupidly good at removing 5s. They also bounce your 6s with their burst mode, or like full move meteor impact, which is super annoying. You don't get them on deletion. And then stuff like Rose, like that's a more winnable matchup, but it's just really awkward with them. Like, you can get something like your 6s out, but then they suspend it and it doesn't unsuspend, and you're just kind of, what do you want to, what do you do after that? Or like, their ability to kind of like just remove your aggro a lot. Stuff like Rosemont X now, when something comes out of breeding, suspend it. When something you play, like suspend it. Those are the only two things I do, man. I play things and I bring them out of raising. And I need to swing with them, so like that stuff's annoying. And they're the decks that sort of make the most out of the 7 memory you give them on turn 1. So I haven't mentioned this yet, but I'm basically always going to be just playing one of these guys, turn 1 going first, give my opponent 7 memory, and in general, there's not much they can do against a level 5 on their turn 1, or that they want to do on a turn 1 against a level 5. They don't want to like just automatically commit to a stack, like a 6 stack that can remove them on their turn 1, because they only had 5 cards in hand. The chances of them having that in the first place are low, but it also means that if you manage to remove that now in return, like they're probably left with nothing. So like very few people will commit to just removing a 5 on first turn, even if they have 7 memory, which is why it's so safe to do it. But stuff like Shine Grey, it doesn't actually commit that much to doing it. It can do something as simple as like, they're pretty much gonna just like play Searcher Agu, play Geo Grey will play a Marcus, and then like they can go into Rise, play another Marcus, and then like once their Tamers starts suspending, they're gonna be able to minus enough DP. They'll have a 5. They'll have it every time. Every time I play against it, they have it every time. And against blue decks, something like Mirage, I think my hardest matchup during Ulti Cup, like the one I actually had to think the most about, and like I know the one I lost was Apocali, but I didn't really have to think about that matchup. It was just find a Fanglongmon or lose. The hardest matchup was actually Armor Rush. They played like 3 Zudo Aces. That is a tough card for this deck. Zudo Ace, that card's kind of stupid. How much it counters this deck, but we still got through it. We still got there. Nice. Because Zudo Ace also loses to a Zulong, thank God. You can just kind of keep playing them against each other forever. Yeah, so those are sort of like the matchups that you lose, but thankfully none of them are super common right now. I think a lot of what people are expecting to happen after the ban list, pre BT16, is probably just a lot of like Levia, right?
Yeah.
And as you can see, this deck doesn't run any 3s or 4s.
No, it does not.
I've versed Levi a couple times with this deck. They find it really hard to pop off. I did lose one game during Ulti Cup. I bricked pretty hard. But the other 2 games, the opponent was, I don't think too thrilled about the matchup. Because like, not only are you pretty much like immune to the 5s, so Drago and Digimon, they're basically not doing anything in the matchup. The Octomon, which is the only way for them to force you to play Digimon by effect. Obviously, everybody knows what Octomon does, but I think some people find it easy to miscount the number of Digimon that are on the field at the moment. So if you're trying to do something like, you have the 5 with an X antibody under it, you have a Via X in the trash, the chances are that I'll have 2 bodies on my board is extremely high in this deck. And the moment you play Octomon, that's 4. You get the Fujitsumon token. Your Biting Crush doesn't activate, your Levia X doesn't activate. You just have a thing there now. I have Piercing Inheritables too. So it's a pretty comfortable one, I think, against Levia. And as long as people don't play more blue and stuff like Shine, like this deck will do well, I think.
Yeah, great. So if you had to put it in a ranking from like in a tier list, where would you put this deck?
Bro, this is tier 1.
Tier 1?
This is a tier 1 deck. I genuinely believe that.
Genuinely believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you've gone in depth in explaining why, like, how this deck loses and how it wins, and yeah.
So no one watched this video, because I'm bringing this to more events probably, and if you watch this video, I just told you all of my secrets, and just forget everything I just told you. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
or play this deck. I don't mind if people. Wait, no, I do mind if people win regionals with my deck list, and it's not me. So just forget everything. Just this was a bad idea.
This was a dream. All right. Thank you very much, Darren, for sharing your deck list. And yeah, let's hope you do better, or you actually win a regional or an Ulti Cup with this deck, because this deck is cracked and people won't expect it, because
people still won't expect it.
Yeah.
This video will get 1 view.
Yeah, true. All right. Thank you very much, Darren.
All right.
And like and subscribe.